Hello, and thanks for joining us on this HOA Leader video chat with two of our experts. My name is Gabriella Flisco. Today, I'm joined by Todd Billy of Missouri. I'm going to call him Billy during this conversation for ease of reference, and Todd Skaronsky of Michigan. And we're talking about whether a board, in trying to avoid a fight among owners, set a bad precedent. So here's the backstory. A 6-unit condo association in Chicago recently did some work to its common garage. One owner, a couple, insisted that they wouldn't pay for the repairs because the work didn't affect them. They then negotiated with the board that their 1/6 share of the expense be taken from the building's reserves. Here's another example. A condo association has garden units that have a front patio but no back deck, and the other units have back decks. So when the back decks needed repair, the garden owner unit said, I'm not paying for deck repair because she didn't have a back deck. In that case, the condo association didn't give in and they forced her to pay. So in this conversation, we'll discuss how common this is, that condo owners complain that they don't need to pay for work because it doesn't affect their unit. And then in our second video, Billy and Todd will offer their thoughts on whether it's ever okay to pull one owner's share of a repair out of reserves. We'll also discuss when condos and HOAs really need to pay for legal advice. So just a note, our experts are providing insights based on the laws in their state, and this is intended to provide you general guidance you can use to help you when you approach experts in your state. So with that in mind, I'll throw it to Billy.
Thanks, Gabrielle. The first thing I'd like to point out is obviously there is a level of depends upon the states and the governing documents. So in Missouri, we follow the Uniform Condominium Act, and the statute talks about how these common expenses are allocated and how things are supposed to be done. So what I always like to tell my clients is if there's a request that's different or odd or sticks out, it is really important to have the conversation with the lawyer, send the email, and make sure you're doing it correctly so you don't have the unintended consequences of doing something wrong or setting a bad precedent.
Yeah, in Michigan, we have a very, we don't follow the Uniform Act. We have a specific condominium act, but it's still we still have common elements in kind that everyone has an ownership interest in. So we do occasionally come across a situation where someone doesn't understand how condos work, doesn't necessarily understand that everybody contributes, according to what the documents say. And so allowing an owner to make an exception of themselves, I agree with Billy. The boards really should confer with their attorneys if your documents are unclear, or if someone's asking to make an exception of themselves. It's always better to proactively get that legal advice rather than make an exception and potentially expose yourself to angry co-owners who get mad that they're paying more than they should towards a certain repair.
Billy, Todd said that it's fairly rare in Michigan for owners to misunderstand that they may have to pay their share of common expenses even if this property doesn't affect them. It sounds like you said earlier that it's more common in your practice. You do get this a good amount.
Yeah, we do. And it really does. It just comes down to the sheer visual of it, right? Just like and you said in the intro, the patio, it's almost sticks out more. I don't have a deck, I got a patio. What do I have to pay for the decks? So the case law is very clear in Missouri. Our office litigated it. So we know what the law is. It really is about owners understanding and managing expectations through their governing documents, and them just either not understanding it or not understanding the risks associated with it. So just briefly, the case here in Missouri dealt with elevators. Some buildings had them, some buildings didn't, and some owners didn't want to pay for the elevators, and the documents didn't have exceptions. So everyone had to pay for the elevators, and that's the advantage of the Uniform Act, is we get to borrow from everybody else that has Uniform Act. So it was a relatively straightforward legal analysis, but still went to the Court of Appeals.
Just one thing I will say on that patio and deck thing, to me, the really good response is, yes, owner, you don't have a back deck, but when your patio, the foundation on it crumbles a little, the rest of the owners are going to pay to fix your foundation. It's the same principle. Todd, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I'd say in Michigan, unlike in, for example, Illinois or Chicago, where you have a lot of condominiums or community associations that are maybe in high-rise buildings or multi-level buildings, we don't have a lot of those sort of community associations or condominiums in Michigan. So we don't have as many issues of, like, for example, a shared elevator where perhaps the first floor residents don't want to pay for its maintenance because they never use it. I'd also say in Michigan, again, I can't really speak for the Uniform Act, but in Michigan, when we have designated limited common elements like patios and porches, it's usually very clear that co-owners pay for their own patios or front porches or driveways. And so there seems, in my experience, our clients, and maybe it's unique to the Michigan condominium community, that the way it's set up, boards have a good understanding of what's a limited common element that's assigned to co-owners and what is a general common element that everyone pays for.
Great. Okay. Listeners, thanks for joining us. And Todd and Billy, thanks for your quick takes on the topic. And we hope you'll join us again next month, listeners.